In Galatians chapter 6 and verse 9, we find a word of confirmation. We find a word of comfort. In Galatians chapter 6 and verse 9, there's a word that we will do well to consider. There it says, "And let us not be weary in well-doing, for in due season we shall reap, if we faint not." This text came to me as a very powerful confirmation and powerful word of comfort, especially as it regards to what I'm going through right now. What I want to share with you this time is that well-doing or doing good does not necessarily always feel right. Sometimes doing right feels wrong. And that is so much so in this 21st century, where the world calls light darkness, and darkness they call light. Everything seems to be in the reverse. Everything you believe, everything you know to be true and pure and holy is despised. And everything you know to be impure, unholy, and blasphemous against God is glorified in the world. And so we are advised not to be weary in well-doing. Where does this weariness come from? Where does this tiredness in well-doing come from? Like Adam Clarke puts it, he says, well-doing is easier in itself than ill-doing, and the danger of growing weary in the former arises only from the opposition to good in our own nature, or the outward hindrances we may meet with from gainsaying and persecuting world. There are two sources of weariness or fatigue, spiritual fatigue. Number one, it's the inside man, the inside old nature, the human nature. And number two, it's the outside influences. And when these two come together in a very particular and distinct way, you will become tired, you will become weary, and you may be tempted to give up. This is explained better in the first preceding verses of Galatians chapter 6. Verse 1 says, "Brothers, if a man be overtaken in a fault, a mistake, ye which are spiritual, restore such an one in the spirit of meekness, considering thyself, lest thou also be tempted. Bear ye one another's burdens, and so fulfill the law of Christ. For if a man think himself to be something, when he is nothing, he deceives himself. But let every man prove his own work, and then shall he have rejoicing in himself alone, and not in another. For every man shall bear his own burden." Now listen to this. "Let him that is taught in the word communicate unto him that teaches in all good things." Verse 7, "Be not deceived, God is not mocked. For whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. For he that sows to his flesh shall of the flesh reap corruption, but he that sows to the Spirit shall of the Spirit reap life everlasting. And let us not be weary in well-doing, for in due season we shall reap if we faint not." Very specific. This is specifically looking at weariness that comes from human nature. Paul is the one who says in the book of Romans chapter 7 and verse 19, "For the good that I would, I do not, but the evil which I would not, that I do. Now if I do that I would not, it is no more I that do it, but the sin that dwells in me. But I see another law in my members, warring against the law of my mind, and bringing me into captivity to the law which is in my members. O wretched man that I am, who shall deliver me from the body of this death?" This is the source of the weariness, particularly mentioned in the book of in the chapter of Galatians chapter 6 and verse 9. We are not to be wearied. We are going to fall many times. We may have fallen many times. But the word reminds us that the righteous falls 7 times but rise up again. And so verse 25 of Romans chapter 7 is really a verse that we should grasp with our minds and with our hearts. I thank God through Jesus Christ our Lord. So with the mind, I myself serve the law of God, but with the flesh, the law of sin. There has to be patience, continuity, consistency. And as we move on, even though it might not look like it, we are going to receive the reward. Because remember, we are told in Hebrews 11 that he who comes to God must believe that he is, and that he is a faithful rewarder of those that diligently seek him. He rewards. He rewards in this life and in the life to come. For more about this, please check out our daily devotional reading for September 29th. Thank you so much for your time, and hope to see you for another day as we continue Evangelive the Verse. God bless.